My wife poured a bottle of water on me and I think I'm done. This happened 3 weeks ago and I still can't get the feeling of that cold water running down my back out of my mind. We were making dinner together, just simple canned chili, nothing fancy. She asked me to chop some onions to add to it. I thought it was straightforward enough. I've chopped onions before. I'm not completely useless in the kitchen. I was standing at the counter carefully cutting them up, trying to make sure they were decent size. She walked by to check on the chili and suddenly stopped. Her whole mood shifted instantly. "What are you doing? Those are way too coarse. They're supposed to be much smaller than that." I looked down at what I'd done. They seemed fine to me, but I said, "Okay, I can fix it." She got more upset. "No, you already ruined it. You put them in the pot already. The chili's messed up now." I tried explaining that they were just sitting on top. I could scoop them out easily with a spoon, cut them smaller, and put them back in. No big deal. But she just pushed me out of the way and grabbed the knife from my hand. I let go immediately. My self-esteem has been pretty much non-existent for a while now, so I just backed off. I started saying that I did exactly what she asked me to do, and if she'd wanted them added at the end as a garnish instead of during cooking, she should have just told me that. I wish I could do something, anything right for once. I walked to the bedroom feeling pathetic. I'm 28 years old and apparently I can't even make canned chili correctly. I sat on the bed trying to stay out of her way so she could fix whatever I'd supposedly destroyed. A few minutes later, she brought dinner in on a tray. I was ready to just drop the whole thing and move on. We both ate quietly. She only finished about half of her food before taking it back to the kitchen. I apologized again multiple times, trying to smooth things over. She didn't respond, just stared at me with this look. So I tried to explain my side, that maybe the communication could have been clearer about exactly how she wanted those onions prepared and when to add them. That's when she cut me off. "You're not listening to me. You keep interrupting." I genuinely didn't understand. I thought we were taking turns talking. I was desperately trying to stay calm, keeping my voice as quiet and level as possible. I told her as gently as I could that I would really appreciate it if she could be more specific about what she wants from me in the future. She snapped, just completely snapped. She grabbed the glass water bottle from the nightstand and before I could react, she poured the entire thing directly over my head. I heard my own voice, almost like it was coming from someone else, quietly saying, "Please don't," as ice-cold water ran down my face, soaked through my shirt, down my back. She dropped the empty bottle on the floor where it rolled away, and she just walked out of the room. Water was everywhere, on me, on the bed, pooling on the floor, and I started crying really, really hard. Not just tears, but that kind of crying where you can barely breathe. My first instinct, even in that moment, was to start cleaning up. I grabbed towels and started wiping up the water, trying to get the blanket dry, soaking up the puddles. I tried so hard to be good. I tried so hard to stay calm and reasonable, and it got me absolutely nowhere. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. As soon as she heard me leaving, she started crying too, yelling after me that I don't care about our relationship, that I'm abandoning her when things get hard. I stopped at the door and told her as calmly as I possibly could that I just needed to be alone for a little while. Then I left. I drove to the library parking lot and just sat there in my car for over an hour, shivering because my clothes were still damp and cold. She called me 7 times. I watched my phone light up over and over. I couldn't bring myself to answer. I stayed away for the whole night, sleeping in my car at a rest stop. When I came back the next morning, my parents were inside my apartment with her. She'd called them at 5 in the morning, crying about how worried she was, how I'd been acting strange and violent lately. My dad stood up when he saw me, and I'd never seen him look at me like that before. The look on his face, man, it was like he didn't even know who I was anymore. Like I'd become this completely different person overnight. My mom was sitting on the couch next to my wife, who had her face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking like she was sobbing. But the second I walked through that door, I saw it, just for a split second before she covered her face again. This little smirk, this tiny, satisfied smile at the corner of her mouth that disappeared the moment my parents' attention shifted to me. "What the hell is going on?" I asked, and my voice came out way calmer than I felt. My hands were shaking. I was still wearing the same damp clothes from the night before, probably looked like complete garbage after sleeping in my car. My wife immediately jumped up from the couch and ran toward me, but not to me. She ran past me, positioning herself behind my dad, grabbing onto his arm. "Please don't let him near me," she said, her voice all high and scared. "He shoved me last night. That's why I had to pour the water. I was defending myself." I just stood there. I literally could not process what I was hearing. My mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. My dad stepped between us, his jaw set, and I could see his hands were clenched into fists at his sides. "Dad, that's not what happened at all," I started, but my wife cut me off. "He's lying. He always lies. He grabbed me and pushed me against the wall, and I was so scared, I didn't know what else to do." "Stop," I said, and I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. "Just stop. Look." I held up my phone, showing my dad the call log. 7 missed calls from her, all timestamped from last night. I left calmly. I drove to the library parking lot. Then I slept in my car at a rest stop on Highway 9. I have the receipt from the gas station I stopped at on the way there if you need more proof. My wife's face went pale, but only for a second. Then she switched tactics so fast it was like watching someone change channels. "That doesn't prove anything. You're manipulating them. You're twisting everything like you always do." She took a step toward the coffee table, and I swear I saw what she was about to do before she did it. She reached out and just knocked this lamp right off the edge. It crashed to the floor, the bulb shattering, and she screamed. actually screamed like someone had hurt her. "Get away from me! Stop it!" I was standing at least 10 feet away from her. I hadn't moved an inch. My parents both froze, and I watched my dad's expression change. He looked at her, then at me, then back at the lamp on the floor. You could see it on his face, like he was trying to piece together how any of this made sense. "I didn't touch her," I said quietly. "I haven't moved from this spot." My mom looked confused now too. She stood up from the couch slowly. "Honey," she said to my wife, and her voice was careful, uncertain. "Are you okay?" My wife kept crying, these big dramatic sobs, clinging to my dad's arm. "Please don't leave me alone with him. Please, I'm begging you." I took a deep breath. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. "You both need to leave," I said, looking at my parents. "I need to pack my things. I'm moving out." "You're not going anywhere until we figure out what's going on," my dad said, but his voice didn't have the same protective edge it had a few minutes ago. He sounded confused now, uncertain. "Dad, please, I can't do this right now. Just please give me some space. I'll call you later and explain everything, I promise. But right now, I just need you to leave so I can get my stuff." My mom looked like she wanted to argue, but my dad put his hand on her shoulder. They exchanged one of those looks married people do when they're having an entire conversation without words. Finally, he nodded. "We'll be outside," he said. "In the car. You have 30 minutes. My wife started crying harder. "No, don't leave me alone with him. He'll hurt me, please." But my parents were already walking toward the door. I could see my mom glancing back, worried, but my dad just kept walking. They stepped outside and I heard their car doors open and close. The second the door shut, my wife stopped crying. Just like that. The tears shut off like a faucet. She straightened up, wiped her face, and looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Cold, calculating. "You're really going to leave?" she asked, and her voice was completely normal now. Not scared, not upset, just flat. I didn't answer. I just walked past her toward the bedroom. I needed clothes, my toiletries, my laptop, the basics. I could come back for the rest later with my dad or my brother, someone to witness that I wasn't destroying anything or threatening her. When I walked into the bedroom, her laptop was sitting open on the bed. The screen was still on, and I saw it immediately. A message thread. Open. Right there. I should have walked away. I should have just grabbed my stuff and left, but I stopped. I looked at the screen. The messages were from someone named Jay in her contacts, and I started reading. "He's so pathetic I can't stand it anymore. Just waiting for the right moment. Once he's out, I can finally have the place to myself." My stomach dropped. I scrolled up with shaking hands. There were months of messages. Months. Going back to February. It was December now. Almost a year. "You need to make him look unstable," one message from Jay said. "Document everything. Make him seem erratic." "I'm working on it," my wife had replied. "He's already so beaten down it won't take much." "Perfect. Then you can stay on the lease and he'll have to leave. He probably won't even fight it." There were messages about me and about things I'd said, things I'd done, all twisted and distorted. She'd been screenshotting our text conversations and sending them to this person, adding her own commentary about how I was controlling, how I was manipulative, how she was scared of me. I grabbed my phone and started taking screenshots. My hands were shaking so bad I had to steady my wrist with my other hand. I got everything. Every message, every date, every lie. I heard footsteps behind me and spun around. She was standing in the doorway, and when she saw what I was looking at, her entire face changed. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" She lunged forward and slammed the laptop shut, almost catching my fingers. "That's private. You have no right to look at my personal conversations." "Personal?" I said, and I could hear my voice shaking. "You've been planning this. You've been setting me up for months." "You're crazy," she hissed. "You're absolutely insane. That's just a friend from work helping me process what you put me through." "I have screenshots," I said quietly. I held up my phone. "I have all of it. Every message about how you were going to make me look unstable so you could keep the apartment. Every lie you told him about me. Everything." Her face went completely white. For a few seconds, she just stood there, frozen. Then something shifted. She dropped to her knees right there on the floor, and the tears came back. Real ones this time, I think, because she looked genuinely panicked. "I made a mistake," she sobbed. "Jay is just a friend. He was helping me cope with your mood swings. You've been so difficult lately, I needed someone to talk to. I never meant for any of this to happen. I love you. Please don't leave me." I stepped past her and started pulling clothes out of the dresser, shoving them into my gym bag. She crawled after me on her knees, literally crawled, grabbing at my legs. "Please, I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll be better. I was just venting to a friend. Everyone does that. You're taking it out of context. If you leave me now, everyone will think I'm the bad guy and it's not fair." "Not fair?" I stopped and looked down at her. "You poured water on me for chopping onions wrong. You called my parents at 5 in the morning and told them I was violent. You lied about me pushing you. You're performing like I'm some kind of monster when all I've ever done is try to make you happy. And now I find out you've been planning this for months. Planning to get me out so you can have the apartment. You tell me what part of that is fair." She sat back on her heels, and I saw the exact moment her approach changed again. The tears stopped. Her face went hard. "You can't prove any of this. Jay will say he was just being supportive. You're the one breaking into my private conversations. You're the one snooping through my stuff. Who's going to look like the bad guy here? Me, the woman who had to defend herself with a bottle of water? Or you, the man who violates his wife's privacy and leaves her alone for an entire night without telling anyone where you were going?" My phone rang. I looked down at the screen. Mom calling. I hit the speaker button without saying anything to my wife. "Honey, we're still out here." My mom's voice came through. Are you okay? Do you need more time? My wife's face lit up. She opened her mouth to say something, and I saw exactly what she was about to do. So I just asked her, nice and calm, what did you just text my mom? She blinked. What? You just texted my mother. What did you say? Her eyes darted to her phone on the nightstand. I could see her brain working, trying to figure out if I was bluffing. She grabbed her phone and started typing fast, and I watched her face as she crafted her message. Then she looked up at me with this satisfied smirk. I just told her the truth, that you're in here destroying the apartment and threatening me. Someone needs to know what you're really like. Can you repeat that? I said. I didn't quite hear you. I said, she started speaking louder, really enunciating each word, that you're destroying our apartment and threatening me. Is that clear enough for you? Through the phone speaker, I heard my mom gasp, actually gasp, and my wife's face. God, the way her face changed when she realized. She looked at the phone in my hand like it was a snake, and all the color drained out of her cheeks. You're on speaker, I said quietly. Mom's been listening this whole time. I didn't mean, she started, but my mom's voice cut through. I heard everything, my mom said, and she sounded absolutely stunned. You're fine. He's just standing there packing. You just lied to me. You just lied directly to me knowing we were outside waiting. My wife started crying again, but they weren't the manipulative tears from before. These were panic tears. Real fear. No, Mrs. Patterson, I can explain. I've heard enough, my mom said. We're leaving. Honey, come stay with us when you're done there. We'll wait for you at the house. The line went dead. My wife stood there staring at the phone in my hand, and I watched her face cycle through about 15 different emotions in 10 seconds. Then she spun and grabbed my gym bag, dumping all my clothes out onto the floor. You can't leave. You're not making me look like the villain. I won't let you. She started grabbing my shirts and throwing them, just hurling them across the room. I didn't try to stop her. I just pulled out my suitcase from the closet and started packing again while she had her meltdown. She threw a shoe that hit the wall behind my head, grabbed my laptop and held it up like she was going to smash it. You're staying here and we're fixing this, she said. Put the laptop down, I said, or I'm calling the cops. She held it for another few seconds, then threw it on the bed. I grabbed it, packed it into my laptop bag, and just kept moving. Every single item I picked up, she'd try to grab it out of my hands. We were like two kids fighting over toys, except this was my entire life falling apart in real time. It took me 20 minutes to get enough stuff into my suitcase and gym bag. The whole time she was either crying, yelling, threatening, or trying to physically block me from leaving. When I finally had everything I immediately needed, I headed for the door. She ran after me. I could hear her footsteps pounding on the floor behind me. I got the door open and stepped outside into the hallway, and she followed me right out. Our apartment building is old, the kind with interior hallways and doors that face each other across narrow corridors. The neighbors can hear everything. You're abandoning me, she screamed, loud enough that I saw Mrs. Kim's door across the hall crack open slightly. How can you leave your pregnant wife like this? I stopped dead, turned around slowly. What did you just say? She had her hands on her stomach, tears streaming down her face. How can you leave me and your baby? What kind of man does that? I looked past her and saw Mr. and Mrs. Kim standing in their doorway now, shocked expressions on both their faces. 2 doors down, the elderly couple, the Johnsons, they were watching too. Mrs. Johnson had her hand over her heart. We haven't had sex in 4 months. 4 months. She knows I know that. We share a period tracking app because she'd asked me to help her keep track of her cycle. I pulled out my phone, opened the app, and held it up so the screen was visible to everyone watching. 4 months, I said, my voice echoing in the hallway. No sex in 4 months. Here's the period tracker we share. Here's the dates. Here's the proof. Then I pulled up the screenshots I'd just taken. And here's the messages with Jay, where she's been planning to get me kicked out of the apartment for months, where she admits to provoking me deliberately, where she coached on what to say to make me look unstable. My wife lunged for my phone, actually lunged, trying to grab it out of my hands. She was clawing at my arms, scratching me, and I had to hold the phone up above my head while backing away from her. Mrs. Johnson spoke up then. Young lady, I saw you leaving with a man in a suit last Tuesday while your husband was at work, around 2 in the afternoon. You were laughing, and you got into his car. My wife spun around, her face twisted with rage. You mind your own business, you nosy old bat. Nobody asked you. The change was instant, complete. She'd completely dropped any pretense of being the victim. The Johnsons actually stepped back into their apartment, looking frightened. Mr. Kim pulled out his phone and started recording. Yeah, you better record this, my wife shouted at him. Record how my husband is abandoning his family. Record what a piece of shit he is. I walked past her toward the stairs. She followed me all the way down, screaming the entire time. By the time I got to my car in the parking lot, we had an audience. People had come out of their apartments to see what the commotion was about. I threw my bags in the trunk and got in the driver's seat. She banged on my window, still shouting, makeup running down her face, completely unhinged. I started the car and backed out carefully, and she had to jump out of the way. The last thing I saw in my rearview mirror was her standing in the parking lot, surrounded by neighbors, screaming at everyone to mind their business. I drove to my parents' house in complete silence. No music, no radio, just me and the sound of my turn signal. When I pulled into their driveway, both my parents came out onto the porch. My mom was crying. My dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. I got out of the car and my mom immediately pulled me into a hug. I'm so sorry, she kept saying. I'm so sorry we didn't believe you right away. I'm so sorry. We went inside and I showed them everything. Every screenshot, every message, the period tracking app, the recording of her lying while my mom was on speakerphone. My dad's expression went from shocked to furious. Not at me, at her. How long has this been going on? He asked. Honestly, I don't know anymore. I thought I was crazy. I thought I was the problem. She'd tell me I was remembering things wrong, that I was too sensitive, that I was overreacting. I started doubting my own memory. That's gaslighting, my mom said quietly. Textbook gaslighting. My phone started going off. Text after text after text from my wife. I watched them come in. I'm sorry, baby, please come back. I love you so much. How could you do this to me? You're a coward. You'll regret leaving me. I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are. You're destroying my life. I hate you. Please answer me. You're pathetic. 23 messages in under 5 minutes. I forwarded every threatening one to my email, then I sent them all to our landlord. Well, technically to her cousin, who we'd been subletting from. The apartment was under her cousin's name. My wife had convinced me we'd save money by subletting instead of getting our own place. Her cousin Jen had moved in with her boyfriend and needed someone to take over the lease for a year. We'd been there for 8 months. I sent Jen every screenshot I had. The messages with Jay about planning to kick me out. The fake pregnancy claim in front of witnesses, the destruction of property, the lying to my parents, all of it. I included a message explaining that I wanted out of the sublease immediately, that I felt unsafe, and that my wife's behavior had been documented by multiple neighbors. Jen called me within an hour. What the actual fuck were her first words. Yeah, I said. Sorry to drop this on you. Sorry. Dude, I'm sorry. I had no idea she was like this. She's my cousin, you know? I thought she was just kind of high maintenance, but this is insane. Can I get out of the sublease? Can you get out? Dude, she's getting out. I'm texting her right now. She has until the end of the week to move her stuff. The lease violation clause covers this kind of shit. Lying to family, endangering other tenants, creating disturbances. She's done. What about me? Do you want to stay? You can take over the lease properly if you want. I trust you way more than I trust her right now. I thought about it. Thought about going back to that apartment, to that bedroom, to that kitchen where she'd poured water on my head over onions. Yeah, I said. Yeah, I want it. Done. I'll have papers drawn up tomorrow. She's got 5 days. My wife called me from 6 different numbers that night. I blocked every single one. She texted me from her mom's phone. Blocked. She messaged me on Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn. I blocked all of them. My parents let me stay in my old bedroom. I felt like I was 16 again, sleeping in a twin bed with posters on the walls that I'd been too lazy to take down when I'd moved out. But it felt safe. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt safe. The next day, Jen texted me that she'd served my wife the eviction notice. My phone immediately exploded with messages from my wife's friends, her mom, her sister, everyone telling me I was an asshole, that I was abandoning her, that I was cruel. I sent them all the same response, the screenshots. Then I blocked them too. Day 2, my wife showed up at my parents' house. She rang the doorbell 23 times. My dad answered the door and told her to leave or he'd call the cops. She started screaming on the front lawn that we'd turned her whole family against her, that we'd ruined her life. Mr. Henderson from next door called the police himself. The cops came and told her she needed to leave. She told them I'd stolen her laptop. I showed them the screenshots I'd taken of her laptop, proving nothing was stolen, just documented. They told her to leave again. She finally did, but not before standing at the end of the driveway and yelling that I'd regret this for the rest of my life. Day 3 was quiet, too quiet. I waited for something to happen, but nothing did. I went to work for the first time since everything had blown up. My coworkers asked if I was okay because I apparently looked like hell. I told them I was going through a divorce. They didn't pry. Day 4, I got a message from Jen. She trashed the place, completely trashed it. I'm documenting everything for damages. Get ready for before-after pics. The photos came through, holes punched in walls. Every dish we owned shattered on the kitchen floor. My clothes that I'd left behind were cut into pieces. Furniture overturned, graffiti on the walls in black Sharpie. You'll pay for this, written across the living room wall. Holy shit, I texted back. Her deposit isn't even going to cover a fraction of this. I'm billing her for the rest. You still want the place? Yeah, I'll help clean it up. No, I've got professionals coming. You shouldn't have to deal with this. Day 5, Jen handed me the keys to the apartment. I drove over there alone. The professionals had already done their work. New paint on the walls. The broken dishes cleared out. Carpet shampooed. It looked like a completely different place. I walked through slowly, room by room. The bedroom where she'd poured water on me. The kitchen where she'd screamed at me over onions. The living room where she'd faked that I'd pushed her in front of my parents. I went to the kitchen and found a note on the counter. Just one piece of paper folded in half. I opened it. You'll regret this. That was it. 4 words in her handwriting. I stared at it for a long minute. Then I saw what was underneath it. The glass water bottle. The one she'd poured over my head. She'd left it there like some kind of monument. Some kind of reminder. I picked it up and looked at it. Heavy glass. Expensive brand. I'd bought it for her birthday 2 years ago because she'd wanted to be more environmentally conscious. She'd loved it. Used it every single day. I walked outside to the dumpster behind the building and threw it in. I heard it shatter when it hit the bottom. Glass breaking against metal, and I didn't look back. Make sure to click on the screen to watch another story.